welcome to another video by Shadow Reviews, and today we're going to be doing something very different from what I usually do on this channel. As most of you know, I do mock reviews on this channel and mock let's builds and weapons tutorial here and there. But mostly I do mock stuff on this channel. Today we're going to be looking at some of the mock related problems on some official LEGO sets. Specifically, we're going to be looking at what I personally dislike on the new 2015 Bionicle sets. Now, it has been about 5 or 6 months since those sets have come out, but it's only now that the problems with these sets have really become an issue, especially with one of their main and most loved features. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at those features, and I'll be showing them off to you. Now, as most of you probably already know, each of the TOA in particular have two distinct play features that come with each set. One being the gearbox, which allows you to swing their arms by turning a gear on their back, and the other being their mask launching feature. Now that is what we're going to talk about first. Just moving this out the way and give you a bit of a glimpse of what it does. As you know, the new masks attach in a different way. There's a bit of nubs on the inside of the mask that attach to holes on the sides of the head. And there is this eye stock here that is on a very loose hinge that can go up and down. The mask attaches, pretty securely and won't really come off unless you bump it with something. When you're turning the head, it can be a bit of a problem and it might pop off accidentally. Now, the problem with these for me at least, is that this connection, to facilitate this mask launching feature, the connection between the mask and the head has to be kind of loose. And it is. At first the connection is pretty solid, but over time, stuff wears down. So the connection strength will deteriorate after a little bit of time. Gosh, I can't speak. So yeah, and that's kind of what has happened with both of my Bionicles. If you don't know, I own Kopaka and Tahu, and both of their masks are a lot looser than they were when I first got them. Now, we've probably all seen the mask launching feature. You press on the back of the eye stock, the mask comes off. The reason this is facilitated in the new Bionicle Wave is because their enemies are skull spiders, which can act as mask, as you can see when we turn it to the back, and attach to the faces of the TOA. So for me, while this gimmick does make sense, I very much dislike it. Mostly because of how loose it makes the mask connection. Like I said, that connection is not very solid. The connection with the axle connection that previous masks have had, or in previous masks I've had, is just a lot more solid and just way better when mocking and just making things, because it doesn't come off that easily unless for some reason it does. But I just really dislike this. And not only is the mask launching feature and the tightness of the mask on the head really annoying, but you also have this piece back here that goes and extends the head. So when you try to bring it back, you can still bring it back pretty far, but it's a lot more limited than it would be if that piece were to be removed. Let me give you a better look at the head. You can see that extends quite far off of the back of the head, and for at least one of the TOA, that is a lot of a problem. Just overall, I just very much dislike the new head sculpt and the new standardized head connection system. It just really takes away from mocking potential, and it's really annoying to constantly knock off your mask accidentally when you don't want to. Now it's time to explore what I think is the TOA's more fatal flaw, or would-be flaw in my case. Now, as you know, or should know at least by this time, all the TOA have gear functions on their backs, which allow them to swing their arms by turning a gear on the back. Sorry about that. And that gear is right here, indicated in bright yellow. Now, by turning this, you are able to swing the arm back and forth, just like this. Now, when you first get the Toa, this gear function works just fine, and thanks to some extra added gears, it has enough friction to hold up the arm. The problem though, or the problem that I have though, is that for some reason or another, it becomes unable to hold the arm at a certain point. I've had both of my Toa for at least 4 months each, and at this point their gear function is completely unable to support their arms while their weapons are held. To show you on Kopaka, what I'm going to do is remove the shoulder armor, like that, just so that that doesn't get in the way at all. So you can see these gears, and he has his spear. Now, let me spin this up to its highest point, and it stays. So let's straighten out the arm, and move it down. Oh, you see? Now, apparently if you move it up far enough, it'll stay. But if you move it too far, it comes back down. And I did not do anything to make this loose. As you can see, both gears are still on, and that's all the friction that Kopaka comes with. So apparently if you, for some reason or another, the gearbox just seems to lose the friction that it once had. I don't know why. My theory on this is that since the gears are connected with a pin axle connection, that pin axle connection over time gets loose. Since you're spinning it around all the time and pin axle connections deteriorate in strength just naturally, I assume that's because of all that spinning you're doing, that it loosens that pin very quickly. And since the pin is what's actually holding on the gear and making it spin, because it deteriorates in friction, so does the gears, and in turn the entire gearbox, making it completely unable to support like a weapon in the Toa's hand. Now, if I take off the weapon, it should still support the arm, as you can see, in the exact same positions as with the weapon. I mean, if that's just what you want, if you just want it to support the arm, then it works fairly well. But if you were to put a weapon into his hands, for some reason it just doesn't work. Like I said, I assume it's because that pin axle that connects the gears deteriorates in strength and is unable to support the weight of the weapon. And to show you, I'm bringing in my other Toa, Tahu, to further prove my theory. I'm going to move things out of the way so that his arms can flow, and I will move them. Come on. Let's just move these swords out the way and turn the gear function. As you can see, it's falling back down, which it should not do that. It's not made to do that. These were made to be better so that the gear functions do not interfere with articulation. And right now they are. Both Kopaka and Tahu have the same amount of friction added to their gearboxes. But for some reason, like I said, most likely the pin axle connection, they're just unable to support the weapons in the Toa's hands. Now once again, I'll show you him without his weapons, just to prove to you, it's just like the gearbox, it doesn't completely stop working. It's just that with the weapons, you just can't pose the arms like you could before, or you just can't use the gear function in the same way. And that is very unfortunate, because, I mean, at first when I saw they had gear functions, I was like, oh, that's going to be annoying. And then when I actually got them, I was like, oh, it's not too bad. Now, it's bad, because now I can't put on the weapons and pose this guy in the same way as I could if he didn't have a gear function. But, very simply, it's a very easy fix. All I have to do is take one or two pieces and lock the gear function. That way I'll still have the same build for the Toa, and I'll, he'll still have the same aesthetic, but the gear function will be locked, thus unlocking all of his articulation once again. Now with that said, it is extremely easy and simple to lock the gear functions, thus allowing you to leave them on the figure, but not allowing their lack of friction to get in the way. Both methods are simple. All you require is a single piece, or one, or, well, you get the point. It takes at least one piece to mod the gearbox in order to lock it. This being one of them, a Technic beam that has two holes, one being a pinhole and the other being an axle hole. This is one of a fairly common piece, I think, and should be easy enough to acquire. The other piece would be this half beam, I guess it would be called, kind of the equivalent to a plate or flat in the system part of Lego. And it has the two axle holes, which will also come in handy. And while maybe this isn't as common, it should be easy enough to acquire as well. Now I'm going to show you exactly how to use those pieces to mod each gearbox. Now there are some like Kopaka that have their gears in their armpits, and this is where the friction originates. Now to mod these, you could take either this piece or this piece to mod it. For Kopaka's, I opted to use this one. So to mod the gearbox, what you're simply going to do is take out the axle that holds on the arm, in this case this axle right here, and then you're going to slide the gear off. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this piece, and whatever is an essential, well, I guess everything's essential when turning, but there are only three main axles in the gearbox. There's each axle that holds on the arm, one here, and then there's the axle that holds the gear that you turn to activate the gear function. When using either of these pieces, you'll want to make sure that the axle hole is always in one of those three axles. That way the gear function will undoubtedly be locked. And it's rather simple to do. Just insert it, and that's about it. And this pinhole, all you need to do with that is just put something in there so that this does not turn at all. In this case, all you have to do is just take off the gear, leave the pin axle, and then insert this back into the gearbox. Now when I turn it, the gearbox does not move. The axle connection that you slide each of one of those three rods into is holding it into place and keeping it from moving. Now you have all the articulation you want in your arm, and the gearbox does not interfere once again. Now for gearboxes like Tahoe's, where both gears are up here in this area, you can do the exact same thing, with the exact same piece. Just make sure that this axle hole is in one of the main three axles. Again, the axle that holds the gear that turns the gearbox is the main axle, as well as each longer axle that holds on the arms. Make sure the axle hole is through one of those. You could use this piece for the exact same effect, just like this, and that would work just fine. But I'm going to show you how to use this piece instead, which works in the exact same way, and a little bit easier since both of these are axle holes. All you have to do is simply replace each of the gears with this and a half bushing if you want. That way, both of these will be locked and will not turn at all. And while these methods are simple to do, they are very effective. I have used both of them, and both of them work exactly the same way and keep the gearbox from turning, thus leaving you with all the articulation you could want and no interference from the gears. Now at this point in the video, I'd like to ask a favor of all my viewers. I would like you to go to all the people that you watch do LEGO reviews and mock builds with the new Bionicle system, and I'd like you to ask them or just direct them to this video, not just for views and comments, though that would be helpful, but instead to tell me, is the looseness of the gearbox something I personally am doing? Because here I have Kopaka's gearbox locked, but Tahoe's isn't. And for some reason, like I said, both of them have gotten too loose to support their arms with their weapons in hand. If you would just direct all of those people to this video and have them comment on whether their gearbox is loose or not at this point in time and why they think that is. Because that would be very helpful in me figuring out, is it because of something I'm doing to these Bionicle, or is that just something that's going to happen eventually? And if so, well then, that's very unfortunate. One also unfortunate thing is that there's no way to fix the looseness of the mask. It'll connect the same way regardless of whatever you do. And if you remove the eye stalk, it'll still be loose. So, yeah. And with that said, I would like to thank you in advance if you do comply with my request. because it would be interesting to see whether these gearboxes are actually a success for Lego in creating a gearbox with enough friction in it to support the arms, or if this is just a success in like a small time frame. Because like I said, I've had each of these guys for at least 4 months, so their gearboxes I would think should still be okay. But like I said, I assume it's the pin axle connection and the looseness that it gains over time as you turn the gearbox that causes the lack of friction over time. But those are just my thoughts. If you know any YouTubers, like I said, just ask them. I mean, you don't even have to direct them to the video. Just ask them, then come back and comment here. And that would be really appreciated to see if these gearboxes really are a big success in the new generation of Bionicle. But enough of me talking. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy or found this informative. And don't forget to subscribe for more content. And I will see you guys later.